commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David, of course, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. Well, we're digital now, but this is what it used to look like before we started printing. There's Mr. Glenn with from RPM, Domino's Pizza. Yum, yum. Got some JLL, oh my God, the chicken guy. Got there's Mammoth Holdings, Chris. Tim Holton above me. Got, let's see, Valor Hospitality Construction. Not construction, Valor Hospitality, their hotel chain coming up. My next issue should be out here the next week or two. Can't wait. So should our website finally going live, and hope you all like that. And listen, Sunday night here in the ATL, had a great weekend. Bulldogs won again, still number one. They haven't lost. A little closer game than I think they wanted to. It's the end of the baseball season. The Braves and the Mets are going at it. See who they're going to win. Georgia Tech boy took it on the chin. And, all in all, pretty exciting. Actually, Falcons won their first game. I just finished watching it. They just beat the Seahawks on the road. So they're 1-2. So they got the bagel off the scoreboard. Thank God, because I thought it was going to be 0-3. They were looking ugly. They were looking okay. It always comes down to a couple of plays. I don't care what sport you're playing. It always comes down to a couple of plays. That's win or lose. That's the difference. Not much different with these professionals. It's just like anything. High school, college, youth. It's always a couple of plays that make the difference. So, you figure, in baseball, they play like 164 games. Every game matters. You don't think it does, but it does. Look at the Braves and the Mets. They're so close. So it's coming down next week. Actually, the Mets and the Braves, I think they finished their season playing each other. So I think that's going to determine who's going to win the division. So it should be exciting here later this week. So, but all in all, pretty great weekend. Can't complain. The weather's been unbelievably nice. The humidity's gone. It was like, in the upper 80s, 90s, all last week. Not a cloud in the sky, just beautiful. Took the boat out a couple times on the lake. Just all in all, just awesome. And a little chill nip at night. In the morning, in the upper 50s, low 60s. It's just been really, really nice. Indian summers here, and can't complain. And down here in the South, the leaves don't really change for another month or two. So, but then when they do, if you've never been in North Georgia, when the leaves change, oh man, it is beautiful. I mean, it really is. So if you ever get a chance, you go up to Helen or, up towards the Chattanooga border, it's just really, really nice, So with that said, talking about, nature and the beauty of the leaves changing in the fall and all that, I've got a gentleman, his name is Mike Martin. And he's actually sitting in a deer stand up in Detroit, and he reached out to me, on a podcasting website that we're both members of, and reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I'd like to tell you my story. I'm a conservationist. I'm into sustainability and living off the land, and I really dig these kind of stories. And plus, listen." He's out of Detroit. He's sitting in there looking for deer. He's like, the clone of Ted Nugent. The man lives it off the land. It's unbelievable. So with Mike, with that said, say hello from your duck stand outside of Detroit.
Hey, everybody. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, we appreciate it. So tell us exactly, where you are.
Well, I am in the Metro Detroit area, right up by Lake Erie. It's my favorite hunting spot. Sitting my ground blind right now. It's actually about a week before deer season actually kicks off. So I've been just out here getting ready, scouting, and putting all the final touches on what's going to be hopefully a successful day come this Saturday.
Yeah. Actually, one of the YouTubers I watch, he's he's out of northern Minnesota, and he's been hiking for like the past month or 2 months, getting ready. He's going out for elk season, to fill his freezer up for the winter. He lives off the grid too, and he's called Neil the North. Lumberjack Logic is his channel out there for all you YouTubers out there that want to find someone. He's really cool, and he works on his own cars. He's living off the grid, and but he's getting ready for elk season, and he's taking his kids out and going to go find an elk to feed his family for the for the winter. So When I grew up out of Philly. So I grew up with hunting, fishing, guns, the horses, the whole works. My dad was a hunter, and uh, it's like getting back to nature. I did the Boy Scouts thing, and I was a Weeblo, and he was an Eagle Scout. So I grew up with that whole mentality of, the land, trying to preserve it. You got we're humans. We're at the top of the food chain. Without food, water, we're not going to survive. So you have to learn how to conserve. And coming from the construction side, why I thought Mike would be a great guest is because we're all into sustainability these days. And talking about maybe reusing old materials into new ones, or finding new materials that are organic that we can use. Just all of that things. This is why I thought Mike would be a really cool gig to have him on here and tell his story. And so with that, Mike, the way it works is I'm going to do it in three parts. You'll tell your story, where you grew up, if you went to school, you got any kids, just telling where you ended up today, and then we'll talk about the roller coaster of the last 30 months, some lessons learned, and then you can leave our audience with one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, Mr. Martin, tell us about yourself and what's the name of your company so I don't get it wrong.
Project Mindfully Outdoors.
There you go. So, Mr. Martin, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
All right, so I guess overall I'm a pretty well rounded, normal kind of guy who has battled depression and anxiety his whole life. I let that get the best of me. And you know what? It's been a very interesting journey. But if you take that aside from it, I'm an avid hunter, sportsman, love to fish, love to hike, anything to do with the outdoors, I'm there. During the day, Monday through Friday, you'll find me in the bulk oil warehouse, running oil for commercial trucks, commercial transportation. And, when I mentioned about that little flip flop roller coaster ride, came out of a really bad divorce that left me living in my truck. So I went from, having the life that everybody lives and loves and craves to having nothing except for my truck, my job, and the outdoors. And those things, man, those things ended up working in concert to bring me beyond that depression and that anxiety, caused me to break all the masks that a lot of us spend our time hiding behind. I figured out a way for me that worked to actually build a bridge. You know what I mean? From where I was at, down and out, to crossing the river of anxiety and everything else and the adversity to get to where I am today, where I want to be, the man that I am. And yeah, I'm a father 4 times over. And during the course of that, I had lost touch with one of my children. And on the other side of that bridge, I found her. And now I can probably say that I'm a father to all 4 of my kids.
Good for
And
you.
outside of that, man, I'm just a level-headed guy that loves to take the process. I love to look at the process of whether it be hunting, life, or just building things and making something beautiful out of it.
So let me ask you: Were you kind of like an outdoorsy guy, before, or when you were growing up, or did this something? Is this a new gig for you? In your part of your life?
That's something that I was born into because I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather was an avid sportsman, loved to hunt, loved to fish. And as I grew up, I tagged along with him. So I learned the way of getting out on the water, getting into the woods, enjoying not only like the camping and the relaxing aspect of it, but learning how to go out and, harvest and earn your food, your sustainability, how to do all those different skills.
Well, listen, you and I are. Listen, my grandfather, he was in World War II underneath Patton. He was a combat engineer, built all the bridges that the Allies had bombed after, during and after the war. And when I grew up, he was, we had horses, so we were, uh, learned to, work at an early age, cleaning the stalls. Was first mate on his boat. Had to write a letter on how to get hired. I think I was 7 years old, to go out and take clients out and, bait the hooks, make the sandwiches, then get home and, clean the boat every night before it was sparkling clean. But I learned a lot from my grandfather too. And, I just look back at all the things that, he taught me, between fishing, how to shoot, there was some hunting in there, and just in general. So you look back at all the things that you learned, and then you look at where you are today, and it kind of just molds you of everything I've done. I mean, I've done a lot of different stuff. I met a lot of people, but I've always taken little bits and pieces, and they're all kind of put me together. I'm kind of like Captain Lego, and it it's very cool, and knowing that your grandfather, took the time, because some people don't do that,
Right.
and
Definitely.
that, you took the time, and that he, implanted that seed that grew later, to where you are today, and I've got to say, you're my first person I've had on my podcast that's, in a deer blind, in a deer stand outside of Detroit. Okay, so I've never had this before, but this is pretty cool because you got electric in there, you got the camera, you got your mic.
Right.
Are you running on a solar generator, or do you power out there?
I've got a portable generator that I drag around when need be. I love doing all this stuff right from the blind.
Yeah,
It's where I'm more comfortable. And you talked about how your grandfather introduced you to it, taught you skills, how you become like this Lego guy, right? Well, the thing that hit me, and I'm going to ask you the same question, is do you realize exactly what that skill set does for you
oh yeah,
outside of the woods?
oh yeah. No, I mean, we he was from the he's military, so I come from a military family. So we had sit down meals, yes sir, no sir, may I be excused. We had to I took the flag down every day. uh, um, you know my parents, they went through, like a lot of people, through ups and downs, a little split up. So I actually lived with my grandparents too, for a while. So he was actually almost, like a semi dad to me. So uh, uh, those things that I learned from him, uh, and believe me, I pissed him off plenty of times as I got older and older, because I thought I was 16 going on 30 when I
Right.
got my driver's license. But uh, I look back at all those things, and like I said, he definitely shaped me, and he was a good man. Didn't drink, didn't smoke. Was married forever for my grandfather. He came from a family of about 11 children, and went into the service. Did his part for the country, and talking about sustainability. My family's been in steel recycling since 1888. They're still in business today. Over, talking about 100 and whatever years. So we were thinking about recycling and being conserving the environment and all that stuff way before sustainability or conservation was even a word. They were doing it way back when. My great grandfather, David Pollock, our company's called Mara Pollock Steel. He started it. I was named after him, and now my cousins, that are my age, they're running, fourth generation. They're running the company today, and it's still in there today. And one of the coolest things I did, like in Philly, you get your license when you're 16. So all the grandsons, when you turn 16, you had to go into the scrapyard and work every summer. After that, every summer, that was your job. You had no choice until you were 18, and you either went to school or went into the military or whatever it was. And so I shoveled asbestos. I laid railroad tracks. Settling torch was in the scrapyard. Have to watch out for the overhead cranes. I did all sorts of stuff. But a lot of my friends, they had much easier jobs. I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning at 16. It ain't easy. If you want to go out and party that night, and
Right.
go to concert. There was you had to do your gig, and two of my cousins were born in the same month. We were all born like a couple weeks apart, so all three of us were the same age. We all got our driver's license at the same time, so we all kind of went through that rigmarole every summer together. So it was nice that I had some, companionship, but oh yeah, no, I look back at those times with my grandfather, either being on the boat or cleaning fish or, shooting, going out to the woods and shooting and targets. We really didn't get into the hunting gig, but I understand hunting. I mean, look, I eat chicken, I eat beef, you know, but it, you got to conserve, and it's one of those things, it's just like water, when you brush your
Right.
teeth, don't leave the faucet on, shut it off, so, all of those things. Plus I was, like I said, I was a Weeblo, I was in the Boy Scouts, and today I'm walking out of the grocery store and there was a Boy Scout there. I think they were Weebelos. And uh, they tried to stop me. I was going in. I was in a rush. I was trying to get back for the game, and but when I walked out, I had some extra change with me, and I turned around and went back, and they were like, "Oh, do you want something?" No, I don't want anything. Where's your donation jar? And put it in there. Because I was thinking right when I saw that kid and he had his Weeblo outfit on, it was like it brought me back right to where I was, 40 or 50 years ago. So. Uh, Anyway, it was a nice feeling. I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna stop, man. No, 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 I don't want a t-shirt. I don't want any cookies. Take this. Make sure
You know,
you.
it's those days back then, those simple little lessons that we get taught that we earn the merit badges for, that yeah, we see, children nowadays going through those exact steps, and it brings a big smile to our face. But I feel like we overlook the real moral behind the lesson,
Mhm.
because all of the skills and all the adventures that you were talking about, coupled with the things that you're taught in Boy Scouts, it's all taught around that buzzword of conservation, which is learning from mistakes and holding on to what is still available with the resources. And we all, no matter what walk of life we come from, we apply those things to our lives as well. And that, I feel, is kind of like the biggest draw to the outdoors for me within the past few years, the shift emotionally and spiritually to really walk within, yeah, there's the conservation of our resources and the land, but there's also the conservation of myself, and learning how I've spent my whole life learning how to overcome adversity and think
Mhm.
outside the box. And I feel like, it not only applies to the outdoors, but also a commercial construction site, or any other job that we have, because we all walk into what the plan is, but 9 times out of 10, that plan is put together by somebody that doesn't have the hands-on experience. So when they give you the plans, you've got to figure out how to do it. And we've got these safe, different little environments that we've grown up in that we can tap back into and realize we can do these things. That self-confidence is something that gets fostered through not only Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, but also just taking the time to, at our stage now, take our kids out in the land, out in the woods, and expose them to these things. Let them figure it out.
Yeah. Uh, you know, my dad, he died in a plane crash coming to see me play hockey when I was 14. So I was a freshman in prep school. I was playing my rival prep school that wouldn't let me be a 5-day boarder. A day student. They wanted me to be a 5-day boarder. I lived like 2 seconds from the school. So I told my parents, I'm like, look, man, if I'm going to be a boarder, I'm going to go to a co-ed school, and there's plenty of other prep schools around here. And I was a hockey player, and so ended up in Central Jersey at the Petty School. And anyway, he was coming in and missed the approach, came around. He was an excellent pilot, but it was foggy that day and he just clipped some trees. Could have flown another 10 minutes to where airport where they had radar. But after he passed, I kind of brought myself up. I mean, it was, I was away at school and I kind of, I don't know if I was depressed, but I definitely kind of just became my own man and, just, it's interesting, and uh, so like I said, my grandfather really became my second dad, even when I was younger. But when he passed away, my real dad, he stepped in and kind of guided me. And he was from the military, so he didn't take any BS. He was a big boy, and but very well rounded. And one of the toughest things I ever had to do, one of my horses, it was a quarter horse. It was named Poe, and he got kicked by another horse in the hind leg, and we had to put it down. And I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. Maybe I was 10. Anyway, we went over to the stable, and he said, "Look, we can't fix this. We have to put the horse down. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?" So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna show you how we do this." So they put the horse down, and that really touched me. Not only, here's an animal, he's in agony. You want to put him, put him to rest, get him out of his agony, and it was the humane thing to do. And horses, it's just like when you see in the thoroughbreds when they race and they break an ankle or whatever. Listen, that joint's not going to get fixed. 9 out of 10 times, it's just not going to work. And they've got to be put down. And I have 5 dogs right now. My wife's a rescuer, so we put down so many dogs over the years. We have them all in the urns on the shelf. I told her, I said, "Look, man, when my time comes, put me in an urn, put me next to the dog, so I have a company, man. I don't want to be put in the ground. It's cold in the winter, man. So
Right.
put me next to these guys. Everyone comes climbing, they come shake me, and they can say hello. I'll be there. But put me with the dogs. I want some company. But get back. Conversation. So many things. So many kids these days do not understand about the outdoors. I don't even know if they can even start a fire, or fix a tire. I always put memes up on my LinkedIn page. About hey, a dad and a son learning how to change the oil, or check the tire pressure. Just all these things. And these kids, the only thing they know how to do is push stuff. And
Yeah.
they don't get outside. When I grew up, man, you were outside all day. You just knew when it was time to come home for dinner. And guess what? We never left anything on our plate. Everything you ate, you cleaned your plate before you left, because you just didn't throw out food. My wife doesn't understand. She goes, "Oh my God, your plate's gone. You eat quick." I'm like, "Babe, it's like this. I appreciate food. Whatever it is, even if it's not that good, I'm still going to eat it, and because I need my own protein and energy. But I'm not throwing it down the disposal, and I'm not throwing it in the trash. And I'm not eating moldy old bread." But the bottom line is, she's like, "Oh my God, you cleaned your plate." No, that's just the way it was in my house. You didn't leave anything. There was no leftovers. That's just the way it was. And same thing in prep school. The food wasn't that great, but I cleaned my plate. So
No, it's that important connection, honoring the fact that everything on this earth has a course of energy that runs through it. And by consuming it, you're not only putting it in your body for nourishment, but you're honoring that energy. And that's an important thing that we've all lost touch with nowadays.
Oh yeah, it's a shame too. It's like right now I'm on this big kick of trying to get shop class brought back into schools, because there's a labor shortage in construction. There's no welders, there's the project managers, the roofers, drywall painters, you name it. Whatever their skill trade is, they're not there, and all these people are starting to retire. And we're not going to be able to build things in this country if we don't have people that and all these kids, they go to school 4 years, they go in debt, and they get these pieces of paper that aren't even worth anything. There aren't even those jobs out there. They were just sold a freaking bill of goods by these universities. And I'm not getting all you out there with schools. I'm not telling you that your school's not good. I'm just telling you that there are kids out there that don't belong going to school. Like my son went to aviation mechanic school. Okay, he didn't go to college. He knew it. I'd have to tell him. He knew he didn't like He didn't like psychology. He didn't like English. He wanted to work with his hands. So all his friends went to 4-year schools. He went to 2-year, and now he's working for Boeing on the sight line, on the flight line, and at 23, making big bucks. But he went and worked with his hands. And let me tell you, it ain't easy. You should see some of the stuff that he had to learn to get his A&P license. So as far as, but it's just in general, do they know how to fish? Do they know how to hunt? Do they, what if the power grid goes out? How are you going to stay warm? All of these different things. I mean, I'm not even a prepper. I'm not nothing like that. But this past year, I bought 3 months of dry food for everybody in case the power grid went out. And my wife's like, we should try one of those packets. I'm like, no, it's for an emergency. She goes, well, what if I don't like it? I'm like, when you're hungry, you'll eat it. Okay, you'll eat dog food if you have to. Okay, or cat food if it comes down to it. Bottom line is, those are for emergency. But I went out and I did it. I always buy up an extra case or two of water, canned food. I want to get my next toy is my solar generator. I've been looking around where I can get one of these suckers, and just to have it, and and obviously, been loading up on the ammo. Like all my friends down here, be prepared, like the Boy Scouts say, be prepared. I mean, I still live and live by that motto. So let's talk about the last 30 months, and your transformation of what you went through. You had your divorce and you kind of had to reassess your life. And, tonight you're sitting at, scouting out how it's going to go next week. Give us kind of a feel of that, what it was like, because you went through it, and along with just about everybody on this planet went through some sort of transformation, during the roller coaster that, went on over the last 30 months.
I think really it was about how you lived during that roller coaster. If you turned it into a live time or you made it just pure dead time, where you basically did a lot of the same things that we just were talking about. But for me, it was actually the roller coaster was a really good cover for the things that I was going through, because with nobody being, with all the social distancing and everything, I was smack dab served with the divorce papers after ending up homeless living in my truck, right? And there was this night that the last thing that she had spoke to my face was, you have nothing to offer me or your kids. So that, to me, that was the end of my world, because I found all my value in what somebody else gave me. I woke up the next day and happened to stumble across a podcast that changed my life, because there was a bunch of different stoic philosophy quotes that were in there. One of them was about adversity and it being an opportunity to showcase who you are inside. And when I heard that, I was like, dude, where I'm at now, this can't be what my kids think of me. If I give up now, then she's right. She wins. And it pushed me on, and it pushed me into the books, and it pushed me further into the woods. And what it did was it made me shatter every single mask that I ever tried to hide the depression and the anxiety behind, and actually face these things. And it brought me into like this realm where I started to draw on that spirituality and that connection with the land, like I was telling you before.
Mm-hmm.
Because that skill set that we're taught when we're growing up and we go through the Boy Scouts, it's actually teaching you self-confidence that a lot of us forget about. I know I'm guilty of forgetting about it, forgetting how to think outside the box. So as I got out one day and was fishing and just camping and setting up for the spring and summer, like, man, I'm doing these things, I'm sitting with my thoughts, I'm tapping into like this real mindful aspect of it, which is why what I do is called Project Mindfully Outdoors, because it focuses more on that emotional building blocks that we lose sight of in every day when we get in the autopilot. And when you come back to the moment and you start to face the different things that you're avoiding, you get that strength, you get that confidence back, and you begin to grab a hold of the world and paint the picture of the life that you actually want to live. And that, I think that's what that whole roller coaster really gave me the opportunity to do behind, with nobody looking around. And it went to the outdoors because that's safety for me. Living off the land and sleeping in a tent under the stars, the back of my truck, whatever it was. Yeah, it was kind of like the only options I had at the moment, but it was also my safe space, so it wasn't a big deal. I can go out, I can catch and hunt down my own food, so that again was not a problem. It was more addressing the underlying thing that had a death grip on my life, which was that depression, that anxiety, those things that we all deal with, and we're too afraid to look in the eye, look in the mirror, and say, you know what, no more. You're not going to control my life. I'm not going to find that value elsewhere. No matter what it is, whether I'm building something and somebody goes, that's great, that's beautiful, or somebody telling you, hey, good job or something. We get out there and you're your own judge, your own jury, your own examiner, and your own everything else. You've got to tell yourself that. You got to control that voice in your own head. And there's a quote by Bearhart that really is stuck with me and really been kind of a theme for me, which is never complete a negative thought. You can start it, just don't ever complete it. Because we all know that our mind is capable of doing what we tell it. We tell ourselves to put one foot in front of the other, we do it. But we also get caught up in that negative aspect. We say, you know what, we're going to have a bad day. Today's a bad day. Guess what? Your mind's going to will that to happen. So if you learn to change the verbiage in there and you get out of bed, you go through your routine through the day, the morning, say, I'm going to have a good day today. Guess what? More times than not, it's going to turn out to be a good day, even when all these obstacles are thrown in your way. Because you know what? The obstacles, the impediments in life, they become the way. And what I've discovered is nature put those in your way strictly for you, because nobody's going to tackle them or face them with the grace, the cunning, the skill set to think outside of the box to handle them the way that you are. And when we learn to come to terms with those ideas and we start to really grasp our story and our life, man, life changes. It changes for the better.
So
It's
with your project mindfulness, do people go out and hunt with you, or tell us about that?
oh man, I'll take you out and do anything you want to sum
Well,
that up. Actually it's funny because around Labor Day, I had a guy that was in my area who wanted to go duck hunting, well, goose hunting, and he had never gone, just straight up out of hunter safety, got his tags and everything. He reached out to me for an idea of where to go. I'm like, dude, let me go out with you. I'll take you out. We got out there, and this guy started opening up about all kinds of things that don't come out in normal conversations. If I met you on the street and I'm suffering with depression, that's the last thing that's going to come out, right? But because we're out in the field like this in this blind one-on-one, he felt comfortable enough to confide in me the things that were going on, and I helped him get some direction. And you know what? We're still walking that, and that was a great story and something that I was amazed to be able to be a part of. It's a journey and a celebration that's still going on. We're still working through it. But when it comes down to it, I'm more than happy to take anybody out hunting, fishing, camping, even just for a hike. Show you some skills that when it comes to any other aspect of your life, man, you you've done these things outside. You had to think outside the box.
so
You'll bring it into the everyday life.
where did he find you? Did he find you on the web, or did he find you on the podcast, or how did he find you?
He's been a long time listener.
Yeah. So that's basically where you promote your gig is on your podcast, then, right?
Actually, what I do is I promote just the overall project itself and the things that I write and things that I share. Because to me, what I do, I call myself a healing guide. I don't heal, I don't coach, I don't do these sort of things. And I found that idea based on the Native American concept of a healer. You know, they call themselves medicine people. However, they're doing the action of healing, but the healing isn't coming from them. If the healing happens, it's coming from inside of the person that they're working with. And it's the same concept.
I bet there are a ton of construction guys out there that if they, both men and women, okay, that if they went out and sat out in the duck blind with you or the deer stand, you probably hear the same thing coming from them. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
I've got things going on at school. My kids driving me crazy. I don't. My marriage isn't going well. I hate my job. I can't handle the stress. You know, I could tell you about a million things that they probably would do. So it doesn't matter whether you're in construction or if you're a big wig crypto financier or you're a school teacher or you could be anything. You could be a publisher, and I assure you that we all have our issues, and keeping stuff bottled inside you is not healthy. I just wrote my publisher's column about last month about negative. Don't surround yourself with negative people. When people are negative, get rid of them. It's dead weight, man. Your life is short. You don't have time to deal with it. Just cut them loose. The world's a huge freaking place. Billions and billions of people. I think 8 billion people on the freaking planet. That you don't need the negativity. And you're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. You know what I base my bad days on? Hey, listen, my dad crashed in the fog and died at 39 years old. He had a bad day. Okay. Now, if I have a typo on an article, or you're out there on a construction site and the paint's not the right color or whatever, listen, that's not the end of the world. Okay. I put everything in perspective, and so, my dad, even though he's passing, I kind of, that's a bad day for me. That was a bad day. Second period, they get, hey, take your skates off. There's been an accident. I'm like, I'm not going. I'm going to win this game. I'm like, got to go. And so when I look back at all that, same kind of gig. That and I went back, just like you kind of found yourself in the outdoors. I went back to athletics. That's all I wanted to do. Just wanted to play sports, do my homework, and go back to school. And maybe bury it. But it's been so long ago. I have no problem talking about it. But at the time, I kind of just went into my own little shell. But like I said, I became a man like overnight at 14. No one else was going to bring me up. My grandfather kind of tried to stay in, but I was at prep school. I was a boarding student, so I lived. I'll tell you what the toughest thing was. When I would be playing a game, everybody else had their dad come watch them play. Mine wasn't there. And I lived in South Jersey. My mom was in Philly, outside of Philly, so she came to a couple games, but not many. A couple of my friends would come in and see. You know how it is. After the game's over, the parents are there, and my dad wasn't there. My family wasn't there. Because I was living away at school. Did it bother me? No, but when it's all said and done, like I said, January 7th, 1979. That was 78, 79. It was a bad year because my dad died. Right in the beginning of the year, way to start the year off. And
right.
And you know what the thing was? All he wanted to do was see me play hockey. That's all he wanted to do. And part of me was like, hey man, I ruined that guy's life because maybe I was part of that he wanted to get there quicker. If he just would have flown another 15 minutes, he could have caught the last period. And his brother is still alive. He's about 82, 83. And I was down in Miami, and one of my friends had passed away, and he said to me, he goes, Dave, you shouldn't blame yourself when your dad's passing. That was his thing. He loved flying, and he died doing something that he loved to do. And you shouldn't blame yourself. I said, I don't, but I just wish he would have flown another 15 minutes. And but you know what? I'll see him sometime because I'm going to go eventually. Later rather than sooner. But you know, all in all, yeah, you know what? Bringing people out there in the outdoors, it probably opens them up. It probably, when they get done, it's probably a whole world's been lifted off their back. Or, you know, am I right? Or a big weight's been lifted off them, right?
You're right. And there's one thing that I like to do, especially when I take somebody out to hike on one of these kind of concept type hikes, is at the beginning of it, we'll stand and we'll kind of just take it in, let daily city life, I guess you could say, wash off you. Let nature start to grip you and go through the hike. And at the end of the hike, I like to all, kneel down and grab a handful of grass. Just quietly just stare at the grass, and you can kind of feel as if you're giving something back when you put the grass back on the ground. Like you place that clump of grass down, and it's like a symbol. It's like a symbolism act, right? You're sitting it down, giving the grass back. However, in the back of your mind, with that grass is packaged and wrapped in something that you've been carrying on your shoulders that is probably not the healthiest thing to keep in your backpack.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm totally with you there.
Like for example, say you and I go out on the hike, and as we're taking things in and we get to that stage of it, and as much as you've talked about your father and the way that you live your life and you process through it and you're okay with it, you can tell that you're carrying those hurt feelings deep down in your backpack. So you grab that grass, you have your couple of moments of silence with it, and you offer it back to Mother Nature. And it's wrapped in maybe even just a couple of those feelings. So they're lifted off of your shoulders, because a lot of what we process and the way that we see things is still tied back to our ancient ancestors. And, the anxiety, for example, or the pain reception, those were things that kept them alive when they didn't have dwellings to go inside of, or there were larger creatures on the food chain that were looking for them for dinner. That's what stopped them from being the main course. Now, in our life, as we've changed the entire world in the entire course of Mother Nature, those instincts and those impulses, they're not, they don't serve us the way that they did them. So they're maladaptive. But yet, in the back of our lizard mind, those things are wired into us. So a part of the process is for us to learn how to deal and accept and interact, considering that those things are there. Be mindful of them. And what we carry, all the different traumas that we hold on to, we're not really meant to hold on to them. We're meant to learn and honor and celebrate the experiences. That's what really the roller coaster ride in this whole trail of Project Mindfully Outdoors has taught me. And this is what I'm so compelled to share with people. It's like when you first pour your own glass of water as a kid, and you take a drink of the ice cold water, and you're like, man, this is great. This is awesome. I did this. Let me share that cup of water with somebody else. You filled your glass, and because you're so happy, excited, and celebrating life because of it, you want to go share that with everybody else in the community, everybody else in your tribe. Before you know it, you've struck in so many teepees together, you've built so many fires that you're having a powwow celebration for the human experience, the life that we uniquely live. And in order to get there, yeah, we've all got to process things. We got to live and learn and go through the experiences. We can read the stuff in a book. That's great. It builds our knowledge, but it's different. It's not your story. So going through living these things, you don't have to be afraid of the things that hurt. You have to just learn how to accept it, celebrate it, tap into that mindset. You know what I mean? If you let yourself see things as This day right here is a gift because I'm here. I may not be here tomorrow. So I'm here. Let me celebrate and enjoy. And if you're doing something throughout a day that you're questioning whether or not it's worth your time, ask yourself the same question that was in Meditations when Marcus Aurelius says to himself, I'm afraid to die right now because I'm doing this. And if your answer is, yeah, I'm afraid that I'd miss out on doing that. For example, for me, if I died today, I'd miss out on being a father tomorrow. I'd miss out on the experience of trucking through the woods or just miss out on celebrating the experience of life in general. Then, yeah, those things are important. If I'm looking at my phone and asking that question and going, yeah, it doesn't really matter, then you know what? It's not important enough. It's about living and celebrating the experiences that truly define who you are, because what it is when you're living the core values, you're able to broaden the vocabulary of the story that you're living and that you'll share with the next people, that you'll teach your kids, you'll teach the next generation, that you'll pump into and express in the next building that you construct or the next company that you make. It'll be built on principles that not only sustain itself in the world around it, but can serve that world that we all love and enjoy and that we truly should be celebrating. And you know
Uh,
what? To add one last thing to that, it's important to hold those memories. It's the feelings of hurt that we all try to hide from, but we can embrace them and we can put them somewhere and still hold on to the memories.
Mike, that was awesome. From the heart, very well said, and hit home right here. So kind of feel like I had a little weight lifted off me tonight. Unbelievable, Dr. Mike out in the deer stand, helping Mr. Dave down in Atlanta. Hopefully some of you guys got it out of it too. So listen, if someone wanted to reach out to you and go out on the woods or do a hike or do a camping or whatever, how would they find you?
Well, easiest way is to hit up projectmindfulloutdoors.com or make sure that you email me directly, Mike Martin at projectmindfulloutdoors.com.
All right. So listen, if you got some things you want to get off your chest, you want to get out in the outdoors and hang out with Dr. Mike Martin here, the deer hunter, or the fisherman, whatever. Get some grass in your hand and plant it back and get rid of some weight. He's there for you, and you can find him. He found me. Found me on the web. We found each other. So awesome. Listen, if anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, we had 2.5 million people. I think I'm going to go over that again this month, hitting the website. So if you have something that you want to send to me, charity golf tournaments, new jobs, projects, we look at everything. Send it to me. And I know you hate me hearing me say this, but it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't use it. I can't put it on social media or in the magazine or what have you. So send it to me. We love getting stuff. I'll send you the live link. You can share it. It's a win-win for everybody. So anyway, Mike, awesome. I hope you have a great hunting season. And before we go, we were talking about Boy Scouts and all that. I just happen to have my Webelos ribbons. I don't know, 5th, 6th grade. I was born in '63, so you guys do the math. But anyway, I was the first person in my pack, Webelos, to get all 15 pins done. And my parents had a frame. This is one of my, one things that you declutter as you get older. You get rid of stuff.
Right.
But this is one thing that I was very, very proud of, and and I was the first one to do it. And it was before my dad had passed away. So, having this thing there and hearing you talk brought back memories of, going out and camping. I remember one time we were camping, it was raining, and I had taken an egg carton and I took the lint from the washer, or I mean, excuse me, from the dryer, and I melted some wax and put the lint in there, and I could start a fire in the rain. I'd have to just get some twigs, but it would burn because the lint was in there and the wax was, but I came up with that idea, and anyway, so these are the kind of things that kids today probably wouldn't even think about doing. But anyway, these pins, when I'm having a bad day, I don't hang them on the wall anymore. I had to go find them in a box, but you know what? I know that they're still there. And these are some of the greatest days that I had when I was out there in nature, fishing, camping, just doing all sorts of stuff, learning to be a man. So anyway, listen, it was a pleasure meeting you. And thank you so much for reaching out to me on Podmatch. I'm so glad that when they sent me an email that I, put myself up there, because I love having different people to talk to on my session. And I'm sure everybody out there, hopefully you'll like this episode. I know I thoroughly did. So Mike, say goodnight from outside Detroit in your duck stand there.
Good night from the deer blind here in the Metro Detroit area. Dave, Thanks for having me on and celebrating my work, my journey. It's been a pleasure to connect, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to say good night from Sugar Hill, which is basically just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 30 miles north of Atlanta, and out in the country. And look, I hope to meet you sometime soon. I'm going to bring back I do a cocktail party once a month. I haven't done them in the last 2 years, but I'm bringing them back next year. And I have Detroit on my schedule. I'm not coming in the winter. I'm coming there in the summer, and we're going to hook up. All right. And
you got to hit the water.
No fist pumps. I'm shaking your hand. Okay. All right.
Works for me, brother. We got to hit the water when you get up here.
Yeah, no doubt. I was just talking to a Detroit guy yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I'm putting Detroit. Well, I'm going to do Detroit next summer. So anyway, hopefully everybody enjoyed the episode, and have a great week, and keep the faith, stay positive, get rid of all those negative wavelengths. And before you know it, look, you got Halloween coming up. You got Thanksgiving, and then the holidays. Boom, 2020 is going to be over, and 2023 is going to be a great year. And I always look at the glass half full, not glass empty, and it's always partly sunny, not partly cloudy. So with that said, Mike, I will see you in Detroit, and to all you out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, we will see you next time on another episode. And have a great week. Mike, have a good night up there, all right? We'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks too.
All right, man.